Hello and welcome to part 2. I'm still sitting on the floor next to piles of lenses after doing some side-by-side testing for you guys. If you missed part 1, we're talking about vintage lenses and in particular Light Lens Lab lenses, comparing them to Leica lenses and Voigtlander lenses. The two lenses we're going to cover in particular from Light Lens Lab is the Elcan 50mm f2 and the Cooke SP2 or Speed Panchro 50mm f2. Both 50mm f2 lenses. So how do they compare, and how do they compare to your existing lenses? Let's find out. Hey guys, Matt here. So we're going to be diving into Lightroom. We're going to be looking at center sharpness, color, saturation, contrast, the rendering, the bokeh, and all the juicy good bits that determines a good photo from a bad photo or a good lens from a bad lens. Let's jump in. Okay, so these are the sample photos, all shot wide open or at f2, depending on which lens it is, for the different lenses to see how they compare. I've got modern lenses and I've got vintage lenses, and then I've got the new lenses from Light Lens Lab. So let's see how the Light Lens Lab lenses compare first to a Apo lens. Okay, so on the left, you've got the Voigtlander 50mm f2 Apo at f2. So this is our benchmark. And on the right, we've got the Light Lens Lab Cooke Speed Panchro 2. First glance, you see the different bokeh. The bokeh of the Cooke is a soap bubble type bokeh with the more defined edge. And if you can maybe see, I'll zoom in, it's a slightly warmer rendering from the SP2, we'll call it, which is the Speed Panchro 2. So see a slightly warmer tone from the SP2 to the Apo. If we zoom in again, remember this is wide open f2, and I was focusing on the 2 at the top, the red 2 there. So as you can hopefully see, you've got blooming effect, or like the glow, the Leica glow as they used to call it, on the Cooke lens or the replica, and you can see it's very clear and defined, well controlled, corrected, however you want to call it, on the Apo. So the Apo obviously looks very sharp. The Cooke looks less sharp and has more of a vintage vibe. If we now compare to the Elcan, okay, so now on the left you've got the Apo again, and on the right now you've got the Elcan copy. Again, slightly different bokeh. You've got like a defined edge on one side but not on both sides. Colors are more similar. If we zoom in, as I say, both lenses at f2, and I was really impressed with the Elcan. We'll call it the Elcan to make it simple. Look at the detail. This is wide open at f2, and there's the Apo with the benchmark. And I mean, I can zoom in slightly closer, but that's impressive. I'm really happy with this, and for how small this lens is, this is going to be my go-to lens, as I'll probably say later in this video, for shooting on film. I really love a small 50mm lens. Talking of small 50mm lenses, how does the small Elcan compare to the small scope R? Okay, if you guys get used to it, you can start to recognize the different bokeh. So on the left, we've got the Elcan with that kind of moon-shaped bokeh. On the right, we've now got the Voigtlander Color Scope R 50mm f2.5. You can see the slightly smaller bokeh because it's at 2.5. Zoom in. I thought this lens was pretty good, but a bit soft, wide open. So this is my smallest 50mm lens, which is going to be my walkback lens until I discover the Elcan. So if the Elcan can beat the Scope R, the Elcan's my new walk-around lens. And let's have a look. Yes, to my eyes, look, the Elcan is sharper. I mean, you can make up your own mind, but yeah, look, it's much sharper. See the glow effect here, wide open on 2.5 on the Scope R. You've got a bit of glow where no glow or less glow on the Elcan. So well done, Light Lens Lab. That's amazing results from the Elcan. I'm really happy. Because it's a Summicron clone, the Elcan, let's now look at Summicron versus Summicron. Okay, so for you Leica lens fans, I've got the Leica Summicron DR 50mm dual range, 50mm f2. On the left, you've got the DR, which is obviously a Summicron lens. And on the right, you've got the Elcan, which is like a Summicron kind of clone or variant. So these two should be quite similar, both from a similar period, more or less. So on the left, you can see the original older lens has got more yellowing, which would make sense with it being a however many years old lens it is, 50, 60-year-old lens, maybe more. On the right, you've got the brand new Elcan with the optical formula from the same period or similar period as the older lenses. So other than the colors, to my eyes, the Elcan sharper than the older DR, and the DR is one of my best 50mm lenses that I use to shoot film with because it's sharp. If we zoom in, again, make up your own mind, but I think, yeah, look at the sharpness here versus here on the DR. So again, Elcan beats DR. Amazing because it's half the size. So that means I can again use a smaller setup on my Leica M3. So f2 is brilliant for portraits. So this is going to be fantastic for portraits to shoot film with the Elcan lens. I keep circling this, but the lens that's taking this photograph. If we just look at the bokeh, pleasing bokeh on both. Again, both of these shots are at f2. One thing I did notice that some of you might be screaming at the screen at, you see the reflection here. I believe that's a reflection of this on the sensor. Anybody that's smarter than me, feel free to comment below, but you'll see that in most photos if you look carefully. Okay, what about super vintage lenses, like softer vintage lenses? So let's now do Cooke, which is a soft lens, versus some soft dreamy lenses. So my two softest Leica dreamy lenses are first the Summerit 50mm 1.5. This is the old Summerit lens, not the new Summerit lens. At first glance, the Summerit at f2 has got softer bokeh than the Elcan, but from my eyesight, the Elcan photo really pops where the Summerit, I keep checking my notes to make sure I've got them the right way around. The Summerit is softer. You can tell the Elcan because it's red here. Oh no, sorry. Cooke on the left, Summerit on the right. So soft versus soft. So the Cooke bokeh is like this, soap bubble bokeh, remember? And they say this is much smoother. So depending if you're picky about your bokeh, you might love or hate the soap bubble bokeh. Zooming in just to check sharpness. On the left, you've got the Cooke with the glow that we saw before. But look at the glow on the right. On the right, you've got the Summerit. And again, a lot of glow from this vintage lens. So now the Cooke, focus points here. The Cooke is sharper than the vintage Summerit when the Summerit is at f2. So great result from the SP2, the Cooke lens. What about compared to the Scimitar? So my other soft dreamy Leica vintage lens is called the Leica Scimitar 50 f2 collapsible. Okay, so now on the left, we've got the photo taken with the Cooke lens. On the right, we've got the photo taken with the vintage collapsible Scimitar. Again, different bokeh from the Scimitar lens. First glance, I think the Cooke lens has got more pop, and you see the warming, the yellowy effect from the Cooke lens compared to the Scimitar. I have to keep checking. So that holds true because the Cooke lens is supposed to give a warmer look, and as you can see, it really does. If we zoom in for sharpness, yeah, look, it's even the glow on the Cooke lens is apparent, let's say, but it's way less than on the Scimitar, which is a very soft lens when you shoot it at f2. It does give a painterly look, but it is almost too soft, especially for film at f2. Bokeh is smoother, and maybe you like the more painterly look, but the Cooke gives you a nice balance of soft but sharp enough, even at wide open. Okay, so one question you may have is how do the lenses improve as you stop down? So if we look at the Cooke SPII Panchro SPII first, on the left, so it's Panchro versus SP2 versus SP2. On the left, wide open f2. Note the more soap bubble type bokeh. On the right at 2.8. Let's zoom in to check the focus. Right, look at the difference. So on the right is at 2.8, and it's really cleaned up the image like a great deal. You've got rid of most of the glow and the blooming, and that's a pretty decent image now. So yeah, that's impressive. So mental note, if I'm going to shoot the Cooke lens on film, I would probably shoot it at 2.8 minimum to have enough sharpness because film is softer than digital. Let's now look at 2.8 versus f4. to zoom out to check the bokeh. Again, see the reflection. Anyone want to comment? Let me know, or let us know. Bokeh is still nice, even f4. Look at that pop now. So if you've done any reading on the vintage Cooke lenses, I understand that most of them were shot at around f4 for when they were doing the movie recordings, as I understand. That would make sense because see the subject crispness and the subject background separation. It's much more apparent at f4 than it is at 2.8. And that's a really nice combination of smooth and soft, sharp and soft. If we go to 5.6 for completeness, again, it's getting really sharp by now. Wow, look at that. That's like Apo sharp. So once you stop the lens down to 5.6, this is the Cooke lens, you can have almost modern lens rendering. Really nice sharpness and clarity. You've got no glow. Yeah, that's really good. So basically, if you shoot it wide open, it'll give you like a vintage lens rendering. Unless you stop it down to say 5.6, it'll give you more of a modern lens Apo type rendering. In terms of center sharpness, at least, maybe not in terms of all characteristics. Okay, what about the Elcan as you stop the Elcan down? So on the left, wide open at f2 here. On the right, 2.8. Again, 2.8, look how crisp it's starting to get. Let me just zoom in. Bokeh's nice on both. Yeah, look at that. So again, the Elcan at 2.8 really sharpens up nicely. You get rid of that. Zoom in a bit more. It really cleans up those numbers and gets rid of the glow. Yeah, that's sharp. That's like Apo sharp. You see the details here. If we look at, so that's 2.8. So very good at 2.8. What about f4? Wow, f4 is even better, as you'd expect with a vintage lens. Zoom out. Still nice bokeh at f4. Yeah, f4 is really good again. So if I'm shooting film on, if I don't need crazy softness, I'll shoot maybe at f4 for say normal subjects. If I'm not trying to do silly, overly soft female portraits. Finally, at 5.6 for completeness. Again, look at that, really modern rendering, and that really pops. Really nice contrast, good colors. As mentioned before, it's got more of a neutral tone compared to the warm tone of the Cooke lens. So that's how the two lenses compare, the new lenses from Leica Lens Lab. Being old lenses, these lenses will be prone to flare. So here's me doing a quick flare test with a little LED light. First on the Elcan and next on the Cooke SPII. Both lenses will benefit from a hood, but the great news is hoods are available. For the Elcan lens, you can get the IRODA hood, which also fits a few other models. It's a pinch style hood, non-vented, and it's a nice compact size, and it's really nicely made. Even if you only use Leica lenses, it's worth buying this hood for your Leica lenses if you need a hood. The Elcan hood even fits my Scimitar, which is a great result because not many things fit that lens. Okay, now for the Cooke lens. So the Cooke lens is supplied with a hood. The Elcan lens isn't supplied with a hood, so you need to buy that separately. Because the Cooke lens isn't supplied with a lens filter, you do get the hood included, and it is a vented style hood. It is bigger, but it's almost a must if you're going to be shooting in bright conditions. Again, nicely made, solid metal, and as I say, is included. I'll do 4 videos on both these lenses to follow. Okay, so in summary, Elcan versus Cooke. The Elcan is smaller with more neutral colours and is sharper. The Cooke will give you a softer, warmer look with more flare and probably more of a creative effect. Both look good and both are sharper than many of my existing lenses. And which lens is right for you? If you prefer modern lenses such as the Voigtlander Apo, stick to modern lenses. If you want something with a slightly softer but not overly soft appearance, get the what I've classed as classic lenses such as the Elcan. And if you want super soft glowy look, get vintage lenses such as the Cooke. If you missed part 1, I can link it below, and if you've not yet seen Ted's videos, I can link those below also. Thanks for my awesome patrons. See you in the next video.